You have experience, wisdom, and a perspective that you didn't have when you were less than 40 years old. We're going to continue to talk about how you, women over 40, can create a sustainable, holistic plan of success for yourself. And we're going to do that in just one moment. Hi there, and welcome to Stress Talk Live. This is the place where we help women over 40 to live healthier lives through strategic stress management and solutions focused self care. I'm Marcyline Bailey, and I am your host. Thank you for joining me today. This is part two of a series where we're talking about how women over 40 can create a holistic success plan. You know, when we think of success, we think about three basic things: how much you make, what possessions you have, right? How much you make, what possessions you have, as well as what your title is. Well, we're talking in this series about how to look at that differently. Before we get to it today, though, I want to remind you to, excuse me, like, follow, and subscribe to ML Bailey Consultants on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at ML Bailey Consultants. You can always, there it is, you can also go to this tap link. Please sign up for my newsletter. In the newsletter, it comes out weekly. Yes, that was a change I made after a year or two of not having a regular newsletter, a regular broadcast. I am sending it out weekly. It not only has announcements about what's coming up, it also has the replay of the video, which you can watch without any ads or pop-ups, right? You can watch it without any ads. Also, you have a summary and a downloadable PDF. So you can work on some of these strategies through the week. I'd like for you to rewatch the video if you like, but if you don't want to do that, I give you what you need to take you through the week and beyond. Also, I want to remind you that in April, I will be hosting my very first Grateful Gathering. This is a get-together that is virtual, that I went through a training through grateful-living.org. And we're going to have meaningful conversations. That's what it's about, meaningful conversations and about how we can live a grateful life. What else? What else is there? Oh, yes. In April, you will have an opportunity to download my newest workbook, The Ultimate Stress Busting Guide. And I'm excited about it. You'll be hearing more about that. And I'll be sending some things out to those of you who are subscribers. Our topic for today, because I don't want to belabor it, and I also want to make sure that we get through this segment because there's a lot to cover, is basically why being over 40 is a stress relief advantage for women. Ha ha. You didn't think it was, did you? Well, I'm here to tell you that being over 40 is a stress relief advantage. We have an advantage that we didn't have when we were in our 20s, especially when it comes to success and viewing success. Think about it. At this stage of our lives, when we're over 40, we're in our 50s and possibly in our 60s, we're thinking about a lot of things, right? And we're thinking about what we've done that we can talk about as success. And I talked about those metrics earlier, right? In the intro, I talked about what our job title is. That is a measure of success that is used universally. When you go to conferences or you go to get togethers of professional people, they usually ask, well, what do you do? Well, what's your title? Well, they don't usually say, what's your title, but they say, what do you do? And what do? We answer with our title. Well, I'm the director of, well, I'm the lead of, right? The other thing that we use as a measure of success are our possessions. Our possessions. Do you own a home? Do you have a car? And what kind of car is it? Is it a low budget model, or is it the top of the line car, that model, right? The high end vehicle? Is it that? Do you have a pool in your yard? Who do you socialize with, right? Those are all measures of, quote, success, end quote. Then we look at a very basic measure. How much money do you make? And there are assumptions based on the title about how much money you may be making or you might be earning. So, those are measures that have been put in place and they've been there forever. Forever. Well, in this series that I've been sharing with you, last week was the first one. We talked about the metrics. This week, we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about the advantages women over 40 have. But the concept is this: if we are able to look at success in a different way, we can craft a plan for success that is more holistic, that is not just about money and our possessions. It takes into account our whole person, our whole being. And with that being said, we're talking about what? Physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And so, with this series, I wanted you to start thinking about different ways to look at success for yourself, because we're burning out. We're burning out. We're tired. We look older than we are. We're stressed to the max, and we're not enjoying our lives. It's hard to live a grateful life when you're not enjoying it, right? And even in the midst of all that's going on around us, if we have a certain mindset and a certain foundation, we can get through all of that. We can just get through it. So, today, I want to talk about the stress relief advantage that we have as it relates to a success plan for women over 40. You ready? You ready for me? I hope so, because we're getting into it right now. All right. So our topic today is why being over 40 is a stress relief advantage for women over 40. And the first thing that I want to talk about is, and I don't want to say you may question this, but you might say, huh, really? Yes, really. As we've gotten older, we've gained experience and we've gained wisdom because of that experience. And so we have an evolving perspective, evolving as in evolution. It has grown, it has changed, it has expanded, it has taken into account all of our experiences, all of our knowledge, all of our, I don't know, all of the things that we've gone through, all of that stuff. And it has helped our perspective as it relates to life, as it relates to work, as it relates to our profession, as it relates to those things that are important to us, it has changed over time. When I was in my 20s, one of the things that I wanted and I thought would make was a I've just lost the word. One of the things that I thought would indicate success for me was to have an office with a window. I wanted an office with a window. And I actually had that when I was in my 20s. I had an office with a window. But I thought that was the measure of success. There's the word I wanted, measure. I thought that having an office with a window would indicate how successful I was. I don't know why I thought that, but I just believed that. Now, for me, it's very different. Now that I'm years past that, it's very different. So, one of the advantages that women over 40 have is that we are age and experience. We have our perspective has evolved. So, what does that mean exactly? Well, it means that we have shifted from an external validation to internal satisfaction. External validation to internal satisfaction. We're not looking for people around us to validate who we are and what we do. We, because we're over 40, because we've had the wisdom of our age, the wisdom of our experiences, we're not looking for that. It's fine if we get it, but if we don't, we're good with it because we are now validating ourselves. So that's the first thing as we're talking about evolving perspectives. The second thing is that our priorities become clear because we have decades of experience. What's important to you? I've shared with you on previous broadcasts a time in our lives when my family was going through a tremendous upheaval because of health issues, because of financial issues, because of lots of stuff going on in our lives. Employment issues. I mean, it all happened at one time. I've shared this, and I'm not going to go into it in detail now. The point I'm making is that when we were going through all of those things, I stepped back and I thought, what is it that's most important to me? Out of all of this, the house that we had just moved into, the jobs that we lost together at the same time, we were unemployed at the same time. What was most important to me out of all of these things? The most important thing to me was my family. Nothing else took precedence over my family. And so we made a decision to put our family first. That was a decision that my husband and I made together. Talked about it. And I said, let's put our family first. I decided that I was going to be the best mommy that I could be. My priorities were different. All of a sudden, it was different. I didn't have to be on the board of all of these organizations. I didn't have to be large and in charge. Although I still ran, I'd left. I didn't have to be large and in charge, right? My family came first. That was my number one priority. And through that, our daughters didn't even know all of the stuff we were going through. They didn't know. We talk about it now. They're in their 20s and they're like, boy, we didn't know all of that was happening. Isn't that something? They have no recall because they didn't know. That's because we put them first. Our family was first. So as our perspective evolves, we shift from an external validation to internal satisfaction. We also, our priorities naturally clarify themselves. That's an example. I just gave you an example of how my priority clarified itself when we were going through a tremendous upheaval. We focused on our family. The other thing, as our perspectives evolve because of our age and experience, is that we just become a little more, we become freer. We stop caring about other people's opinions. Now, I shouldn't say we stop caring altogether. That's not the case. But other people's opinions of us don't carry the weight that they used to. When I was in my 20s, it was important for me to get validation and to hear good things from other people about me. Now that I'm much older than that, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And yes, it does feel good to get that validation. Yes, it does feel good to hear good things about yourself. But when we get to a place where we're not out seeking that, that's what I'm talking about. We're not looking for it. We're not striving for it. We're not getting depressed because we don't get it. The other thing, as it relates to our evolving perspective, is that we are able to regulate our emotions a lot more as we become older. We don't get, we don't have those highs and lows. You've heard me talk about that, the highs and lows that we might have had when we were younger. It's more modulated, right? More modulated. So, evolving perspective comes with age and experience. That's an advantage that we have. That's an advantage over stress, and it's an advantage as it relates to a holistic success plan. So, if you're out there listening, if you're watching the replay, just pop into the chat or into the comments how your responses to events have changed over the years. How have your responses to things changed? How has your perspective evolved? So let's talk about the second advantage that women over 40 have. And the second advantage is about our unique strengths. Yeah, we have unique strengths. When we reach that pinnacle, 40 years old and above, here's one of those strengths that we bring to the table. And I think it's important to understand the strengths that we bring to the table, because when we're thinking about a holistic success plan, we want to understand what we offer and what we bring, because if we want to have a sustainable success, if we want to have sustainable success in a holistic manner, we need to be able to explain and share what we bring so that other people understand it, right? And so that we do too. So the first thing, as it relates to unique strengths, we have an accumulated wealth of professional experience and knowledge. Whatever our profession is, whatever our industry is, we have accumulated expertise and knowledge. And this is very important for us to recognize. We also, because of our age and experience, I'm going to go back to that, we have a greater ability to problem solve as well as to navigate complex issues. I'm going to let that sit there for just a moment. We can navigate complex issues like nobody's business because we have the experience and we can problem solve. The other thing that we bring because of our age and experience is that we have wonderful communication skills. At least we should. We have wonderful communication skills and enhanced emotional intelligence. That's what I was talking about earlier when I said we don't have those highs and lows emotionally. It's more modulated. We also express greater self awareness and we can be authentic. I think I'm a little more authentic. I've always been I've always been a pretty honest person, pretty outspoken person. I think I'm a little more authentic these days now that I'm older than what I was when I was younger. I think so. I'd like to think so. But there's a greater awareness of ourselves, who we are, what we bring to the table, and what makes us a whole person. And we express our authenticity. The other thing is when you're older, you have the confidence to speak up and you can advocate for yourself and other people. I'm definitely more outspoken and than I once was when I was younger. You get to a place where it's like, hey, I just want to say this, or I think I need to say this. And it may not change the landscape. Just putting it out there, though, makes people think. So, in addition to age and experience, we have these unique strengths. We have our expertise and our knowledge based on our profession and our industry. We're able to problem solve because we have enhanced skills. We also can navigate complex life situations. We have great communication skills and enhanced emotional intelligence. But not only that, we're introspective because we have self awareness and we can be authentic. In addition to that, we have the confidence to speak up so that we can advocate not only for ourselves, but for other people. These are unique skills and strengths that women over 40 bring to the table. And this is an advantage as it relates to stress relief, as well as it relates to a holistic success plan. So let's move on. We've talked about unique strengths. Now let's talk about life experience. Life experience. When you're older and you've had a lot of life experience, and I find myself talking to some of my younger colleagues, and I'm often saying these days, well, in the old days, I never thought I would say that, but I am now. And I've even said, I know you're always hearing me say, well, in the old days, or it used to be, but there's a lot of insight, I think, into being able to say that. So so an advantage for women over 40 is being able to understand how our personal challenges have become professional assets. Yeah, I wanted that to just sit too. Our personal challenges, how they've become professional assets. I'm a social worker, I'm a school social worker. I also have a part-time private practice. And I know that the challenges that we faced years ago financially have helped me tremendously because I can understand and relate when people say they've lost their job. Now, you might say, well, why is that? Well, okay, all of us can relate to that. I don't think so. Unless that's happened to you, you can't really relate. You can probably empathize with it, but you can't relate. You can't relate to coming home and wondering if your lights were going to be on. You can't relate to picking up the phone to see if your phone had been cut off. You can't relate to that unless you've gone through it. And I think that those challenges that we faced, the health challenges that we faced, the the financial challenges that we face have helped me tremendously from a professional standpoint because I can relate to people differently because of it. When I was younger and I was a social worker, I was like, hey, I don't get it. I'm just out here doing the do because I like this work. Now that I'm older and I'm out there, I can speak from experience and I can say to people, hey, I've been there and I know how difficult it is, but here's how you can do it because I was able to do it too. There's a totally different view that you have when you can see how your personal challenges are really professional assets. The other thing that life gives us, our experiences have given us, which is an advantage, is to understand how patterns work. There's a pattern to everything, and and patterns develop over time, and we can see the pattern because we've experienced it or we've seen it develop over time. That is an insight and an advantage that women over 40 have. Also, being able to mentor someone, having the ability to mentor someone, but also being open to being mentored. Those are advantages that may not come unless you are older and your life experience has taught you that. The other thing, as it relates to life experience, is that when we make decisions, we can make decisions based on and with the benefit of historical context. Now, this is I'll be going into my 20th year and as a school social worker. And I've got to tell you that things have changed over time. And that's happened all over the place. Things have changed over time. However, with any industry, it's important and valuable to have historical context. You want people in place who know the history because it's very valuable. You don't want to repeat history if it's not good history. So you want to know that, right? But you also want to know that, hey, we tried that and this is how it didn't work. But maybe if we do it this way, it'll work this way, right? Historical knowledge is valuable in any industry and in any organization. And women over 40 bring that. And that's how we can make valued decisions. And then the last thing is the ability to anticipate what might happen, anticipate results, anticipate outcomes, and then plan accordingly. All of these things are very, very important. And they are advantages that we as women over 40 have when it comes to stress relief and creating a holistic success plan. So, we've just talked about why being over 40 is a stress relief advantage for women. And this is the second in the series of our talks on creating a holistic success plan for women over 40. I'm glad you joined me today. I look forward to seeing you next time. Make sure, if you have not done so, to sign up for a newsletter so you can get the replay and you can download your handout. That's all for now. I'm Marcyline Bailey. As always, take good care.